So you will have noticed over the last 2 to 3 years that peat-free has started to appear on all the compost that we do, and in fact it's the same for all garden centres across the country. So peat was a fantastic material that was formed from the breakdown of mosses in boggy areas, very common in southern England, Ireland, uplands of northern England as well. So it was a common material that was around. But when we dig up peat bogs, what happens is we start to release carbon, and massive amounts of carbon out into the atmosphere. And draining the peat bogs is even worse because it leaves the peat that's in there starts emitting carbon dioxide as well. So we need to stop using it, and we're all on board with that now. But it is slightly different. I just want to cover a couple of things with you because the compost behaves differently to the old versions. In terms of growing, these are multi-purpose composts, and they're used basically to start plants off before you put them into the garden, or for annual displays in pots just for one single year. They're not designed to last many, many years in pots. So, but they are very important in terms of growing plants for use. If we move over to this side, you'll see that we've got other types of material. These are the topsoil. This is recycled. All of these products, one way or another, recycled and do not contain any peat. These are for border improvements. So we've got mushroom compost here. It is spent mushroom compost from growing mushrooms in it, and then afterwards it's then sold on to gardeners. It's slightly high in pH, so you tend to use it for vegetable gardens where it's going to bring the pH up. Very good for brassicas, roses, herbaceous borders. These ones here, horse compost, fairly neutral in pH, so it can be used anywhere. Very good again for vegetable gardens, herbaceous borders. And here, these are basically well composted green waste from people's gardens. In this area, we've got a place called Eco Sustainable Solutions over at Holme Airport, and that takes all the recycled green waste from people in the area, bringing stuff into the household recycling centres, and then that all gets composted on massive great heaps, lots of air going through it, and it gets it up to 60 degrees centigrade, and it kills off all the seeds that are in there, any weed seeds. So it's a very good inert compost use, still full of nutrition, still full of fungi and bacteria, absolutely great for your soil. This is tree and shrub compost, and tree and shrub compost is neutral. This is exactly the same stuff, Eco Mix, but this is about pH 8, so it's a little bit more limey, and this again probably good for your veg gardens and herbaceous borders again. Then we've got mulches, and these are designed to put on the top of your soil and to mainly reduce weed growth and stop weeds forming that are growing on the surface, but it also encourages better water holding capacity in the soil, lots of soil microbe activity, and eventually it will feed your soil as well. And you generally use them to get shrubs established. And over here we've got John Innes compost. So I'm now standing next to the John Innes compost. So John Innes was a chap who left a legacy to a company called John Innes Research Institute, which backed horticulture up. And basically about 100 years ago, compost was so inconsistent within the industry and available for gardeners, he came up with a consistent way of producing a soil-based compost. And the soil in here is about 50% of the mix in all of these John Innes types of compost. The reason we want soil in there is because it buffers the root zone against wild chemical swings in there and wild pH swings, and it just makes the soil more consistent and a better growing conditions. It also stops the compost from slumping, which happens when you're using multi-purpose compost. If you use them for more than a year, you may have topped up a pot before now and then noticed it's dropped by about that amount the following season. You won't get that so much with John Innes compost. And the way he formulated it, he built one for design, one for seeds. So it's basically got no nutrients in it because the seed comes with a little bit of nutrient. And then you get the seeds germinating in this. Then you'd move it on into John Innes number 1, which has got a tiny bit of nutrients in it. And then on to number 2, which has got more nutrients in it. And number 3. The only difference between 2 and 3 is that 3 has got more fertilizer in it. can finish in number 2, and I generally advise people to finish in number 2 unless they're growing plants that have got a high nutrient uptake, such as strawberries or fast-growing plants, fast-growing shrubs, etc. So that basically is the John Ennis range for you.